Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. Is Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Lord have mercy. Seriously. Grief almighty. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. I'm so confident about Tuesday, too. Well, what can I say? What can I say? Anyways, it's Wednesday. Now that we've clarified that several times. And I am going to read a very important and special document as America closes in on her 250th anniversary, birthday, celebration, whatever you want to call it. We still got a long way to go. However, that being said, we talked about Lady Liberty's post yesterday. We did oracles on Monday because retrograde. But I am preparing something for tomorrow that I had been thinking about before I read Lady Liberty's thing, before I'm about to read you this very special document, before a lot of things. And I'm not really sure where to go with it or how to go with it. So anyways, I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence today. Now, here's a fun fact. John Adams never celebrated the 4th of July because he always believed that it should have been July 2nd, because that was the day that the Continental Congress voted on the Declaration of Independence. So yeah. I know. But anyways, I'm going to read this. So a committee that included John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston wrote the original draft of the Declaration of Independence. Others edited it, and the Continental Congress approved it, as we know, on July 2nd. 56 members of the Continental Congress signed the Declaration in August 1776. Most notably, the first signature, John Hancock, who was the president of the Continental Congress. A short note on the back of the Declaration of Independence reads, Original Declaration of Independence dated 4th July, 1776. So, like I said, John Adams always thought it should have been the 2nd because that's when they voted on it. But I guess they all signed it later. But here's the thing. So sorry, I made that a little more dramatic than it should have been. When it comes to John Hancock's name, because I get it, he was the president of the Continental Congress at the time. I just always assumed that they say, yeah, can we get your John Hancock? Because his name is so freaking big on the document, okay? I mean, it's like he wanted everyone to know he was the first guy signing it. And then everybody had to fit their names around it. So anyways, today, we are going to read the Declaration of Independence. I am going to read the Declaration of Independence. Now that I've kind of fumbled this entire opening, but that's okay, because, good morning, Muddy. Good morning, older sibling. Even though I fumbled it a little bit, we're gonna go for it. Now, I want you to understand, this is the original text. This is how it was written. This is how it was presented to the world at the time. Punctuation marks, spelling, you're not going to be able to see the spelling, which was a little different then, right? Because we kind of changed it. Even United States of America, they put States of America, all right? United was little, so we weren't the USA yet, all right? And just as a side note, I know a lot of people, there are some people in the world that get a little upended because we call ourselves Americans. And I get it. We're part of North America. So is Canada. So is Northern Mexico. And then there's South America, Central America. I get it. But America's actually in our name. Okay? I mean, Canadians don't call themselves Americans. Mexicans don't call themselves Americans. They belong to the continent. Yes. But it's not in their name. So, I'm not trying to make an excuse because I realize we don't own the entire of the Americas, and that's fine. That's fine, even though this administration thinks they do. But anyways, but yeah, that's why we call ourselves Americans, because it's right there in our name. So, please try to understand that and forgive us. Okay. Because it's just a habit. But anyways, all right. I have one more note. I have one more note to read to you and then we'll get started. I am reading this exactly as it was written. I do not agree with the way an Indian is defined as we, Native Americans, of course, as we were traipsing on their land. However, I can't leave out that text either. So, so if you're watching this later and maybe you get offended, maybe you get a little offended, because I was like, wow, this is how far we need to go, but they knew this. When they wrote this declaration, they knew that this country would one day grow, that the world was going to change. That's why they wrote, oh, did you see my new shirt? Yes, that's right. Liberty and justice for all. Anyway, they wrote this just to declare their independence from the Britain. But the Constitution that they wrote, they left it, I don't want to say open. They left it a little bit open because they knew the country would change. They knew that it would go through a different process and that the world was going to change. I mean, hell, in their own lifetime, they created an entire country. Well, it was only like 13 colonies at the time, but still, there was expansion, there was going west, there was all these things. And yeah, America's got a big black eye when it comes to how we handle things, especially racially and culturally. But we're 250 years old. And even though that's not an excuse, because that's old enough to know better, compared to like England and Spain and France and Germany, Europe, Russia, China, Japan, all these places, we're pretty young. We're like in toddler mode, obviously, because we elected one. I didn't vote for him, but yeah, we had a toddler in chief sitting up there. And yeah, I'm not going to apologize for that, because that man, you don't tell people they're dumb because you don't like their question. You're supposed to take it like a man, okay? Not like a child. So anyways, let's get going. And also, while I'm reading this document that is pretty much 250 years old at this point, since they voted on it tomorrow, 250 years ago, we know now that this was already written by July 1st. At least the main pieces of it. But I want you to notice if you see any similarities to what they were writing about in here to the king, versus now, to the reason why we use the hashtag no kings. I know. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. Muddy said because we elected one. I know. Yeah, I know none of us voted for him. But, like I said, there have been presidents that I haven't aligned with in the past, and I was in the Republican Party at one point until they nominated Trump. And then it's just kind of like, I'm out because I know this is how this is going to go. I know this is how this is going to go, because the guy has never been an upstanding person. And I knew that as a kid, just reading my mom's People magazines. Seriously. So anyways, yeah, and you're going to say, well, you're making judgments on blah, blah, blah. No. Okay. Look around. Open your eyes and look around. Anyway, Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to the right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish their right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable, to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with measures. Any of this sound familiar yet? He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders, Rene Good and Alex Preddy, which they should commit on the inhabitants of these United States, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, the fake prisons outside of the United States, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioner of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. Sorry, I struggled with that word. And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we, the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Kind of tripped over that a little bit. Sorry. Anyone notice anything happening in this 250 years ago that we might be dealing with now? Anybody? Bueller? So for those that don't know what despotism is, it's a form of government where a single ruler holds absolute power. Sound familiar? Does it? See, I don't think he's in charge. I think someone's puppeting him, to be honest with you, because he's not that smart. I don't mean to be mean. I don't mean to be rude. But you can tell by the way he talks. You can tell by the way he rambles. I ramble, and I know I'm not that smart. You can tell by the way he talks to people. Are you dumb? He tries to bully them. He tries to intimidate them. There have been smart people in history that have bullied people, and but he's not one of them. He has caused an insurrection. He has erected multitude of new offices. Anyone remember DOGE? And sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. ICE. They've had mock murder trials. Why is the man who shot Renee Good not going on trial? Why are the men who harassed and shot Alex Pretty not on trial? Why are the MAGA people defending the men running around there with guns and wanting to be open carry, but when they see that Alex Pretty had a gun tucked into his backside, you can see it easily, all of a sudden two-way doesn't count for him. The people that defend this administration, I'm not going to throw under the bus, because I think a lot of them are just party aligned, not realizing their party is broken. The people that defend everything that this man and his cronies, or the people puppeting him, are doing, I don't know what to say to you. The Declaration of Independence covers so much of what we're going through now. It's almost like, Project 2025 took this document and said, hey, let's try to make every single one of these happen. And yet they stand behind, they hide behind America 250. So many of us who love this country, who are patriotic, even some of our Olympians, they sat there and said it's hard right now. I'm excited to be an Olympian, but it's hard to be proud of my country right now. But yesterday, Lady Liberty gave us a reason to be proud. The women winning the Olympic gold, that gave us a reason to be proud. Even the men, for the first time in 46 years, winning it, gave us a reason to be proud until they didn't give us a reason to be proud. Now I mean no disrespect to Britain, because as you all know, I love England. I love Britain. But back then, excuse me, something is happening. Something's making noise down here and it's freaking me out. Sorry. It might be my shirt because it's brand new. I haven't washed it yet. But I forgot where I was going with that. Anyways, I'm sure I'll figure it out again. But Muddy says there is almost nothing left to say to the ones defending him. If they don't get it by now, I'm not sure they ever will. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Back in was it the 70s? I think it was the late 70s. An entire religious cult fell in behind Jim Jones. They believed in him. They, they believed in what he initially wanted to provide for them. But then, as with most things, and I actually think this is how he started out. It was all about power. It was all about controlling people, running his own little tiny country. And whenever he wanted to leave, it didn't always go that well. Didn't always end well. And then, of course, as, the government began to descend upon them and their way of life was, what do you call it? Their way of life was threatened. He made them all drink the Kool-Aid, which is where that term comes from, if a lot of people don't know. I don't know if it was actually Kool-Aid, but it was juice laced with, I can't remember, was it, why is my brain not working today? God, what is that stuff called? I learned from Outlander, it smells like almonds. But, oh God, what, I don't know. Somebody help me here. Okay, my brain is not braining. My brain is not braining today. But, anyways, I keep wanting to say arsenic, and it's not arsenic. It's, cyanide. Thank you, whoever gave that to me. Cyanide. Laced with cyanide. Laced with some kind of poison that killed them all. Even the babies. Okay, even the kids. Okay? So, what? Okay, sibling. I don't know what that is. She wrote a word, but it seems more like a nationality than an actual poison. But whatever it was, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. And they all died. Maybe not all of them. Most of them. Thank you, Muddy. She came up with cyanide. My brain. Anyway, so I'm with Muddy. There's just no reaching some people. He says, make America great again. America was never bad. America just needs, she needs work. She needs growth. She needs progress. And years and years and years ago, I never understood that. I saw progressive as being, oh my God. But it's wrong. This is what we've done over the last 250 years. We've progressed. And in the matter of a year and a half, we've regressed. Badly. I have never lived in such a heightened state of stress, except when I was a kid. And I was afraid to get on a plane to Hawaii because, in the 80s, there was a lot of hijackings and all this. I mean, who hijacks a plane to Hawaii? But still, it scared me. It scared me. I mean, where the true stories or the stories based on reality were more scary than the scary ghost stories, right? That you watched as a kid. And because it was reality. But if you break this down, okay, the despotism, right? Designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, which again is a form of government where a single ruler holds absolute power. This document isn't just important for the founding of this country, for the basis of what the Revolutionary War, was fought for. This document is to remind us who we were, who we are, how we progressed when it's come to our Native Americans. Not very well, but that's okay, because I'm all for them building casinos because they take care of one another, and I think that's beautiful. But, obviously the way they talked about them then, but look at all the stuff. Refuses to pass other laws for the accommodation of larger districts. Has called together legislative bodies at unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records. Congress is run by MAGA people. And they will defend him left, right, and center. And then they said, now they're putting provisions in, well, if we lose the midterms, don't worry. Mike Johnson says, I'll protect you. Who the fuck are you? I'll protect you? From what? Because you're sitting here saying that they're going to come after you like you went after Joe Biden and his family? I mean, like you went after Obama? Like they still go after Obama. What the hell did that man do? I admit I never voted for him, but I feel stupid that I did it now because damn, when I look back at everything he did, it's like, well, I may have been on the wrong side of history on that one. I was on the wrong side of history for a lot of things. A lot of things. And while, I am assigned a party, I really kind of feel like I'm just centered. They should make a central party. We need a central party. Not independent, not whatever. We need a central party of all the centrists. I like to call ourselves the bipartisan party. People willing to work together, people willing to cross the aisles. Because, there are people way over on the left that are like, we'll never forgive you. It's like, what? That's the wrong attitude to take. It may feel like it, because I really don't feel very forgiving right now. But at the same time, that's how you bring a country together. There were people who were kind of caught in the middle. Like, I love Britain, but I love this country. I don't know what to do. Just lots of things. And, where's another one? Protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of the United States. Hello, ICE, who never gets punished. Hello, guy whose name I can't remember that, who killed Renee Good. Oh, well, she drove her car. No, we all proved, because we're all aware of basic physics, how physics work. When a car is not aimed at you and you jump in front of it, yeah, okay, that's a reason to shoot somebody. You caused that situation. Alex Preddy, just trying to help somebody. Gun, get shot. Gun wasn't even, it was in his backside. Hello? Or not backside. I mean, it was holstered. All right? It was holstered. Period. He never reached for his gun. He never pulled out his gun. He was trying to physically help somebody who was being picked on by ICE, who, by the way, are not trained. Join us. Stay on for 5 years. Get $50,000. If you leave before then, we'll take it away and you have to pay it back. That's how that works. Yeah, so they've got you. But at what point? I mean, basically, those are mercenaries. You're buying people. You're buying people to hurt other people, to hurt the citizens of this country, to hurt the people that this document protects, that this document talks about, that the document that followed it, the Constitution, protects. And then here too, he has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations for lands. So people will say, well, we shouldn't let immigrants in because that was a long time ago and that's when those were written. Well, guess what? The Second Amendment was written for the pioneers heading west, not for you people to carry a gun and say, hey, I can carry my gun wherever I want. I don't fucking care if you want to carry your gun, as long as you're a responsible gun user. But the problem is, there are people out there who are not responsible gun users who get a hold of them and shoot people. And people are going to say, well, that's because they buy it on the black market. No. Older sibling and I watched a show on one of the true crime shows where the guy walked into Walmart, bought a frickin' gun, and shot the girl who was, ignoring his advances, who she tried to be nice to. He became obsessed and became a stalker, walked right into a store, no questions asked, bought a gun, bought a box of ammunition, and shot her. She had just been accepted to her dream school after several years of not getting in. She was barely in her 20s. That's what people are fighting for when they talk about gun control. Nobody wants to take your guns. Hell, half the people that they say want their guns own guns. One of the people that we're talking about, we need gun reform, is a person who goes out hunting. It's a Democrat, okay? People out there, MAGA people out there who aren't paying attention, who think everybody wants your guns, no. We just want responsible gun laws so that some joker can't go into a school and shoot up a bunch of kids. Yes, I'm getting passionate about this because I'm angry. This is a sacred document. This is the document that began this country. And because they knew that this declaration wasn't going to be enough, they created the Constitution with the ability to make amendments as the country progressed, not to regress it. So if you want to sit there and use the argument that people shouldn't be allowed here because that was hundreds of years ago, for immigrants, blah, 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 then your 2A argument just fell flat on its face. Because again, even though it's in the Constitution, that was initially written for the pioneers moving west who did not have policing and armies to back them up. They gave them the freedom to defend their homestead. That is why the Second Amendment exists. And for no other reason. But as we move into the next century and the next century after that, and even this century now, responsible gun owners, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care about you. I care about the people who can walk into a Walmart and buy a gun without, because they're mentally unstable. People ask me, I talked to my cousin once. And he's all, well, are you, because I would love to learn how to shoot a gun. I would love to learn how to properly use one in case, you're ever in that situation, right? Maybe a gun, like in the movies, a gun flies your way. And it's like, well, yeah, it's not that you don't just point and shoot. There is some skill that is required. Sometimes when you see the way people hold a gun, if it's a certain kind of gun, that'll fucking break your arm if you hold it the wrong way. Or it'll jam you up pretty bad. There is skills involved. But my cousin asked me, he's all, do you want to buy one? I'm like, no. I said, I can't have one in my house. And and I told older sibling, I said, if you get one, don't tell me. And if you get one and you lock it up, don't tell me the code. But, which seems kind of counterproductive. But I have a mental health issue. I have a dinged up mental health. I have major depressive disorder. And while I feel like it is controlled and managed well, I can't take that risk. Not because I'll go out and shoot somebody, but because I would take my own life before I do that. And this isn't meant to be scary. This isn't meant to be harmful or hurtful. But people take the Constitution and people take the Declaration of Independence and they pick and choose what they want out of it, like the Christian nationalists do with the Bible. They take bits and pieces that fit their narrative and throw it at you. So if you're going to sit there and say that immigrants should not be allowed, well, then you should not be allowed to have your gun, because that's as dated as that is, as the, as the other things in the Constitution. Not this is the Declaration of Independence, obviously, but in the Constitution that, say that people who are immigrating in are allowed due process. Undocumented citizens are allowed due process. And here's another trick that this administration has pulled. People who are here undocumented, they have their court cases, they go to the court, but they're arrested on the steps for being undocumented, even though they're trying to get into the court to prove their case on why they should be allowed to stay. So, that is a violation of their rights. But they're arrested and thrown into, cages. And I'm not kidding when I say cages. Go look it up on the internet. People say, oh, that's AI. No, the people who want to believe it's AI is AI. But when you look at the news and when you look at the foreign news reporting out of there, right now, I think sometimes the only reason that, we're still standing is because the outside world is able to show the inside world what's going on. The ones that don't want to believe. No wars. Guess who's at war? Guess who ended up paying money to end the war? It's like you started it, thought you were going to bully your way through it, and they were like, bitch, we got you. Okay? Now give us money. Stupid. Just stupid. Stupid. And I'm not holding back anymore. I'm too old to hold back. I mean, I don't feel old. I'm really, in essence, not that old. Okay? My theory is you're old when you're dead. And I always thought that. You're old when you're dead, or you're old when you stop moving, when you stop doing things. But I'm angry. I'm angry because, to me, this is a sacred document. Now here people will say, well, they mention God. No, they don't mention God. They mention nature's God. And if you really start to look at that, even in the Constitution, they're talking about different people of different belief systems because they knew that people would come in. Our founding fathers were not stupid, okay? They had foresight. And they knew that because they had been here for several hundred years, that in turn and in time, the world was going to change, just like it had changed for them. They had been a product of England for like 200 years. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hell no. All right. You want to start doing this, that, and the other. And here's the thing. When they talk about, taxation without representation, part of that is because they were fighting a lot of wars and they needed somebody to pay for it. And they didn't want to put it on the people in that area because, you want to keep the king safe, right? You don't want all these people revolting and coming to the castle and going, So they put it on the people here. They put it on their colonies. And they said, you're going to pay for it. I mean, that's the whole basis of the Boston Tea Party. It wasn't to waste tea. It was to say, no, you know what? You're not going to make any money off of this. We're not going to let you, and we're not going to be taxed for the things that we love. Speaking of tea, this is not tea, but I mean, who doesn't love a good cup of tea, right? I know. Even in bags. It's so American. But, yeah. My heart hurts. I mean, my heart hurts. This shirt, I told older sibling, I said, I bought this shirt for the 4th of July. So if you see me on Saturday and I'm wearing this, that's why. But I bought it on the 4th of July, for the 4th of July, because it's inclusive. Justice for all. Liberty for all. We've lost our way. Well, this country, the government has lost their way. They want to make it you know, a place for their own people. And forgive me for saying this, because like I said, I have nothing against white people. I am white. But they're racist. They're misogynist. They're prejudiced. They, they get mad at the Haitian immigrants for being here, even though they're working hard and not just living off the government, like some people would think. They did an article, and this man said like half his people quit, but all the Haitians stayed they're my best workers. They're hardworking. They come to work on time. If I ask them to stay late because we have an order or something, they stay late. And he's all, I pay them their overtime, but he's all, they don't complain. He's all, because they're grateful to have that job. He's all, it's not like it's, some random thing that they can go find something better. He's all, they're grateful to have that job. When was the last time any of us were grateful of having that job? I mean, I was grateful for having a job, but it wasn't my dream job, right? But when I left, I realized how much I actually did love it, because I miss the people. But then you have the government saying, oh, well, we're going to welcome in the South Africans. Not the darker ones, the lighter ones. And we're going to welcome them in with open arms. We're going to let them immigrate here. Why? One guy was complaining that he had to sell his Jaguar and his Range Rover so that he could, have even more money on top of the 300 grand that he already had to come here. Seriously. Why are they immigrating? I was telling sibling this the other day, and I said, oh, I'm sorry. Are you sad that you're outnumbered by, African people who you colonized? Okay, you moved into their country and now you're complaining because there's a lot of them. Seriously. That's like Australia complaining about the Aborigines, which, by the way, were like their Native Americans, right? Not well treated. But they treat them better now than we do with our own. We brought slaves here. We brought Africans here. And then we complain that they're here. Seriously. There are generations that go back farther than some of our own generations that have been here from the beginning when they were first kidnapped and brought over, sold by their own people and brought over here. Generations. And when they talk about reparations, they're not talking about reparations from like just the Civil War or slavery. They're talking about, I was watching a video on this the other day, which I thought was great. They're talking about the man who owned a store who was very successful. Like, take for instance, the Tulsa Massacre. That could have been generational wealth. But it was burned down. And everybody had to start over. Everyone had to figure it out. And they probably fled in different directions to find safer places to build their businesses. But that's generational wealth. And the generational wealth was removed. And why? Because people were jealous. Because people were racist and jealous. Work with them. Create bigger stuff. Create a bigger business. It astounds me how this country is 250 years old, but we haven't really seemed to make much progress. The Civil War was in the 1860s, and yet in the 1960s, you still had people fighting for civil rights for our African Americans. And I love the idea of this country. I love the potential of this country. And if we manage to last, if we manage to stay the United States of America, I believe that we can progress. It's painful. It's hurting. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Lady Liberty said it in her thing, we've got some issues that we need to, we got some wrinkles we need to iron out. We got some issues we need to sort out. But this document, this is like the Bible of the United States. this is what they were railing against. This is what the Revolutionary War was about. Not just creating this country and breaking away from Britain's rules, but for everything listed in here. All the things that people still today in England don't know about because they've never read our Declaration of Independence. You know, some of them just think that we were a bunch of ungrateful people. And that's okay. Because, you know, it's what we're taught, right? You're only going to know what you're taught in school unless you get to reading, unless you go in depth and start to look at things. So, I think everybody should have to read this document. I haven't read it since I was a kid, I admit. And when I was going through it last night so that I wouldn't trip over it, even though I did, I was like, whoa, shit, there's a lot in here that's happening now. You know, maybe we got the reincarnation wrong. Maybe reincarnated as King George. But, and like I said, I got nothing against England. You know, when you run roughshod over people long enough, you probably think that you can continue to do that. And that's what, you know, the current head of this state, you know, this country did. He used to run roughshod over people, wouldn't pay them, asked for their services, wouldn't pay them. Then when they sued to be paid, he lawyered them to death, some cases literally. And then all of a sudden the bully came up against a bunch of people willing to stand up against him. That, you know, take his insults, take his vile words. Did you know that that man made $1.2 billion last year on his cyber businesses? I bet you didn't. Most presidents don't make money when they're in office. They make their salary, and yeah, they might have speaking engagements that do pay them, but they don't turn the government into their own little business machine. And as older sibling put it, he uses this country like an ATM. That's exactly what he's doing. He's building generational wealth for his own people. And it's gross. It's gross. When you step on people to build something, I hope the whole empire just falls down. Seriously. You know, even Darth Vader had, you know, redeeming attributes. This guy, none. He is like Palpatine all the way out. I know, I just nerded out on everybody. No redeeming qualities at all. Just a straight up bully who was raised that way, who was raised to just step on people. You know, who sits there and says, oh, we need to respect the military but dodge the draft. Called our heroes suckers and losers. Threw Senator McCain under the bus. I mean, that man was a war hero. And yet, people just say, oh, well, you know, I'm sure he didn't mean it. No, he fucking meant it, people. Okay? Open your goddamn eyes. Sorry, God. Seriously. Sorry, God. Open your eyes. All right? Sammy said she read the Declaration of Independence a few days ago. I would probably cry if I stood in the rotunda and actually looked at the actual written one, or even the Constitution. I know history brings out emotions in me, and I love it. You know, even the Liberty Bell, which I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh when I see the Liberty Bell now. Not because for any other reason than my dad, because when my dad saw the Liberty Bell, he's like, I thought it would be bigger. It's like, how big do you want that bell to be? You know, it's a bell. It wasn't made for any reason. It just became famous because, you know, it cracked when it was, you know, repeatedly rang after we won the war. I think that's when we won the war. They cracked it. But see, even my history's fuzzy. But I'm just like, how big did you want it to be? Like the bells of Notre Dame, which probably aren't that big either. But, you know, I mean, it's big, but I think he thought it would be this ginormous thing, which I'm going to end you guys on a funny note. I told him, I said I had a very similar experience when I was in New York. An older sibling was trying to show me the New Year's ball, the one that drops, the Waterford crystal ball. And I was like, where is it? She's all, it's right there. I'm like, where? She's like, right there. I'm like, where? She's all, okay. And then she put her finger right in front of my face, stood behind me, and then just like right there. And I'm like, that's it? It was small. Like, seriously, I thought it would be bigger. It's so big on TV. So, it almost feels like things are bigger, or what is it? Things are closer than the mirror, whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Like I said, my brain is not braining. And I think the reason my brain is not braining is because I am angry. I am angry at what is happening to my country right now. This country does not belong to our government. The government belongs to us. But right now, this document is proving that they are trying to put their thumb down on us. And we cannot let that happen. So, if anybody sees this, go back and read the Declaration of Independence. Look at it against what we're going through now. And if you can't see any similarities, I'm sorry, there's no help for you. But for those of you who do, think about it. This isn't about party anymore. This is about country over party. Okay? And if it was a Democrat in that office doing the same goddamn thing, sorry again, God, I would be still pissed. All right? This isn't about party anymore. This is country over party. 70% of Republicans are trying to take back their party. Just take back their party. They don't agree, but they also won't leave the party because it's their party. And these interlopers are just there for the ride. So just remember, when you talk about Republicans, it's not all Republicans. I would kindly like you, in honor of the Republicans I know, which I am no longer one, but I am center left. For all the Republicans I know, I'd like you to refer to those other people as MAGA, because that's exactly what they are. They're not Republicans. They are an entity unto themselves. And we are letting them destroy this country, and we've got to stop. You know how to vote come November, and it's got to end. Don't vote party. Vote for this country over party. Vote for the history of this text, which is being trampled on by this government right now. By people who say they love America, but have no fucking clue what's in this document. Who trample all over our Constitution. Like it's a doormat. It's not a suggestion. It is the rules of our country. It is the sacred text, the sacred document that this very country was built on, the foundation of this country. This is where they graded the land. The Constitution is the foundation and everything we built on top of it. These men did not fight for years and years just to see us go backwards 250 years later. So you're damn right I'm pissed. I'm angry because I do love this country. I respect it and I love it, but I do not respect my government right now. I have never, ever in my life not respected a government. I may not have liked them. I may not liked them. I may not have agreed with them. I may not have sided with them for whatever reason, because I really didn't know a lot about politics till now. I was just a party person. But now I'm angry. And I will fight for her. I will fight for her. Because she's worth fighting for. The dream that she offers to people who are not from here, who want to be from here, who want to lay down roots here. I'm fighting for that. I'm fighting for the sacred text in this document. I'm fighting for the sacred text of the Constitution. And this isn't all just jibber jabber. Okay? This is how I feel. This is the intensity of what I wake up with every morning since this new administration came in. I mean, you know, older sibling and I would talk about different presidents. Not once until now did I ever start with, oh God, what did they do now? Now what? Not once until now. Most times we didn't even talk about the president. You know, just kind of like, whatever, I don't care. But when I look back and I wonder why I was so angry at an opposing party, I can't come up with a reason. I really can't. I mean, I feel stupid, to be honest with you, for some of the things I used to think. And I'm not saying people are stupid. That's just me personally. I feel like an idiot. Because it's like, oh my God, I was so blinded by party allegiance that I couldn't see what other people were doing, how they were progressing this country in a beautiful way, the way it needed to go. And yes, they make mistakes too. Everybody makes mistakes. But what's happening right now in this government, it's not a mistake. It's intentional. It's not someone blundering their way through. It's someone whose every move is being calculated by something or someone. So they can make money and somebody else can take power. And we need to stop that. This document right here, this is the birthday card for America in honor of John Adams tomorrow and in honor of this country Saturday. This is what we need to remind us who we are, what these men fought for, and the women, okay? Because there were women who did stuff too, but you know, of course, history isn't going to tell you what they've ever done, but how they showed up and supported. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. After that, right? It's like, yeah, thanks, Shelley. Yeah, no, but seriously, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. If you have not read the Declaration of Independence, please read it. Please read it. Okay? It's about a 2-minute read, depending on how fast you read, 5 minutes max. I think it took me about 5 minutes to read it. It can be a little, it can be a little upending, but I mean, for the most part, the words are pretty basic. I did have to pull out the dictionary for, not for a lot of words, but someone's like, whoa, I don't use that word every day because they're old words right there. And in fact, Muddy, we got to put some of these words in that group. So anyways, have a great day, everybody. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live, All Lives Are Public under Shelley Marie Lucas. Anybody can watch. And again, it goes across the social media board. Have a great day.